played at all my parties, and it's stuck in my head all the time.
The Crypt Keeper's in the house. And the groov's nasty and mean, like the effects of a guillotine. A permanent headache's the end of the mission. Were you invented the Keeper's television?
Yeah, it was a good deal. God bless him, he just died this last year too. They had Heavy D had written a rap song for the Crypt Keeper, and it was I think it was kind of like a quick thing they did as an afterthought. Maybe they thought about it for like 2 midnight or something like that, and it didn't. Nobody really like decided that it was the perfect thing for the Crypt Keeper. It was a good song, it just wasn't perfect for the Crypt Keeper. And then they got Chucky Booker, who used to write, for Janet Jackson and all these different people. You hear his music all the time, and he wrote it, and it was great. It was great off of that, and the video. There is a video, a great video, with the blood tapping and all that stuff. And Kevin Yeager, took it upon himself to direct that, and was the Crypt Keeper maker, and we had a blast doing it. Brought William Gaines down to the set to be and Chucky Booker. I think in the scene maybe it's me, Chucky Booker, and William Gaines, nodding their heads to the music or something at one point. But the musical stuff that they used to do with the Crypt Keeper it was some of my favorite stuff to do, because having come from musicals and stuff, and having the Crypt Keeper sing, it's not something they originally bargained for, but getting me was an opportunity for them to do that stuff. And I just thought I had so much fun making it. And it wound up being a great, they were playing in clubs. Dr. Demento used to play it every Halloween. I don't know if he does anymore. The Cryptness album was still one of my favorite things they've ever marketed. I thought that was genius, the stuff they came up with for that. And we had a lot of fun doing that. I got to improvise a lot of stuff in that. It was good. It was, I couldn't ask for a better job. It wasn't the best paying job, because again, they needed favors. It was a very expensive show to do. I won't complain about what they paid me, because I did get paid, but but it didn't take up a lot of my time, because they could work around my schedule, in terms of other jobs and that kind of thing. So it was kind of like the perfect job, and for to take a full turnaround. To me, I grew up with the comic books, and the fact that they were even making it into a show was so cool. I just thought it was going to be for freaks like us. I didn't think it was going to be like such a widespread, huge thing that it became, and for it to have become so iconic and for me to be a part of that is just an amazing thing. And I so appreciate that you guys have supported it, because I have a love of it as a fan, not only as somebody who worked on it, and I truly appreciate that.
What voice did you play in the Looney Tunes?
In Looney Tunes, the new one? I'm Pete Puma. How you doing, man? I don't really know what's going on. I know you. Which was great, because Frank, I love Looney Tunes, but this particular one, the new one, they weren't really concerned as much on doing the voices from the past, because they wanted to have, like Wanda Sykes play the witch and stuff like that. They wanted to almost create a new generation of Looney Tunes voices, which for Looney Tunes fans isn't the best thing, of course. But I was pleased when they let me do as close to Pete Puma as originally was done, because I loved Pete Puma. Pete Puma that character was based on a guy named, who used to be on the, none of you guys were alive, but on the Jackie Gleason show. And a guy named Frank Fontaine. Hey, Joe. Hey, Mr. And he was funny, he was the bartender, and he would go, hey, Joe, sing us a song. Oh, Daddy. Oh. He started singing. And he had this beautiful tenor voice. It was kind of like when Cobra Pyle would sing, it was kind of one of those kind of things. And so it's that character was probably the stupidest character that that Looney Tunes ever made. you know, even back then, and he was only in like 2 or 3 episodes back then, but he became, again, an iconic Looney Tunes character because he was so much fun. Yeah. So, one more question?
We talked about this at your table a little bit yesterday. I was interested to hear more about how you felt about the differences growing up. I had not only Tales from the Crypt, but also Saturday mornings Tales from the Crypt Keeper. Just the differences between the 2 shows, because there's such a dichotomy between what each show is presenting to you.
Oh yeah.
That's all these
Well, from the very first start, you know, when we first started Tales from the Crypt, I was pushing for them to do something for kids. And I had always thought that they should do a live action show for kids. And of course they resisted it, thinking that it was just too scary for kids, you know? And I was like, well, what about R.L. Stein? You know, and then R.L. Stein was, you know, Goosebumps came out, and then they were kicking themselves going, you were right, you know. But they did get Nelvana to make this cartoon. And of course they couldn't kill anybody, and that the kids still got their lesson learned. That kind of thing. And I loved that they had, you know, it's funny for me because I was such an animation fan as a kid, and I loved Looney Tunes and that kind of thing. When stuff like Scooby-Doo came out, I loved the content and hated the animation. It was like, sit background, sit background, sit background, sit background. And it didn't have the life to it. Of course, it was the characterizations and the voices and stuff that brought it to life to me, which is why I fell in love with doing voiceover stuff. And still watch stuff like Scooby-Doo. The animation has that kind of similarity to it in the Tales from the Crypt, but it's a little better. But the colors that they used were so true to the Tales from the Crypt kind of thing that it just kind of pops off the screen. And so it has a life of its own. So I was very proud of that project as well. The game show, not so much. You know, like whatever would turn people on to Tales from the Crypt kids, you know, it's a great thing. So, I mean, the series obviously could go everywhere. I mean, I've never even nearly liked as much when Fox got the Tales from the Crypt episodes as when it was on HBO or when you guys get to see it on DVD. I believe, I've been told, I haven't checked this out for myself, but I've been told that FearNet plays them with commercials. So they're edited for content, including nudity and language.
They're the same that run in syndication, but FearNet's on-demand service shows them uncut.
There you go. That's what I was going to ask. So they show them cut on demand on FearNet, which is great. I love that because there's a generation of people that only saw it on Fox. They didn't see, they were, you know, too young to see it on HBO, that kind of thing. They never got to see them uncut. And they're just so great. They're like watching a mini independent feature, you know, each one of them. And they're not all successful for everybody. And then some people who love Bordello Blood. I happen to be a Demon Knight fan, you know? Who just vomited when I said that. Well, you know, some people like the more cartoony kind of comic strip kind of feel of Bordello Blood. You know, horny teenagers, for instance. But which I'm sure you were once one. No? No, but, you know, it's a different kind of vibe. And some people, you know, but that's the thing about Tales from the Crypt. Each week there was a different kind of style depending on who was the director, the story was based on, the stars that they had in it, and the style that they chose to do it in. But the one cohesive thing was the Crypt Keeper sequences. So I think that's what made this anthology series more successful than any of the other horror anthology series. Was because of the Crypt Keeper. You know, you had